of the financial sector for these priorities is therefore needed. That is why throughout 2021, the Reserve Bank of Malawi maintained an accommodative policy rate of 12.0%, especially in view of the need to continue supporting economic recovery from the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. As a result of this policy stance, the community, social, and personal services, comprising mostly individual and household loans, dominated credit uptake, signifying the need for cushion from the effects of COVID-19. With respect to economic sectors, the wholesale and retail trade sector borrowed the most, followed by agriculture, forestry, and fishing sector, and the manufacturing sector is a distant third. As government, we will ensure that the wholesale and retail trade sector is trading mostly in locally produced and manufactured goods as espoused in our implementation plans of Malawi 2063. Madam Speaker, what COVID-19 has taught us is the need to reduce our dependence on imports. As such, my administration will build on incentives pronounced in the last national budget to promote and encourage local manufacturing. Fiscal performance. Madam Speaker, in implementing the 2021-2022 national budget, government found itself in a situation where it had to meet a number of COVID-19 related expenditures at the same time that domestic revenues were deteriorating due to the effects of COVID-19 on taxpayers, and government was receiving minimal donor budget support. This led government to incur a widening primary budget deficit, that is to say, a budget deficit before payment of interest on loans, which was financed by domestic borrowing, which resulted in rising public debt. The primary public deficit incurred during the financial year ending 31st March 2022 is, however, projected to decline from 8.8% of GDP in the 2020-21 fiscal financial year to 7.3%. It does signal my administration's intentions to reduce the rate of borrowing and effect stringent measures to control public spending, some of which I will highlight a little later. Future economic outlook. Madam Speaker, in 2022, GDP is estimated to grow by 4.1%, up from 3% in 2020. As contained in the Socioeconomic Recovery Plan, SERP. This plan acknowledges that the economy remains depressed, largely due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and outlines interventions to reinvigorate it. Aside from the obvious investment in fixing the health system, we will continue investing in fixing the infrastructure system to create employment and attract future investments. We will also intensify our digitalization agenda to ensure people are able to work from anywhere, especially home. Government will also build a resilient and sustainable social protection system by, among other means, administering safety nets, especially those that are productivity enhancing. We expect the normalization of global supply chains currently underway to improve trade and prices and contribute to GDP growth. Madam Speaker, the agriculture sector will continue to lead the GDP growth revolution in 2022 as government continues to implement irrigation programs and projects such as the Shire Valley Transformation Program, programs for rural irrigation development, PRIDE, and Malawi Watershed Services Improvement Project, MWA-SIP. Growth across the broader spectrum of the economy, including mining and quarrying, manufacturing, transportation, construction, and wholesale and retail trade sectors, will further prop up GDP growth prospects in 2022 as the economy becomes more resilient to COVID-19 following implementation of economic recovery measures. Madam Speaker, annual average inflation is projected to continue on an upward trajectory to 9.6% in 2022 from 9.3% in 2021. This is owing to the continued rise in fuel prices and depreciation of the Malawi kwacha. Notwithstanding, the country is expected to experience moderate month-on-month inflation, especially when harvesting season sets in, thereby reducing pressure on inflation dynamics, as will our ongoing efforts to expand the export base. On the monetary front, the policy rate will be guided by the Reserve Bank of Malawi monetary policy, which will continue to be supportive of economic recovery efforts. Madam Speaker, fiscal rules, medium-term budgets and plans, and annual budgets are meaningless if expenditure cannot be controlled. Therefore, to ensure that public resources are utilized effectively, I am announcing the following measures to be implemented across government in the course of executing the 2022-2023 national budget. First, a review of the benefits and entitlements of senior government officials, including the presidents and all cabinet ministers. Second, a reduction in procurement of motor vehicles in terms of numbers and type and sizes. Thirdly, a requirement for ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, to seek Treasury approval before effecting new recruitments. Fourthly, a requirement for all government institutions, without exception, to install and use prepaid meters for utilities. Fifthly, fast-tracking the digitalization drive to reduce paperwork and fraud, which has already been added to the portfolio of the Minister of Information. Sixthly, procuring security equipment and fertilizer directly from manufacturers instead of middlemen to cut landing costs. Seventh, fixing the perennial delays caused by people managing IFMIS by recruiting competent graduates in accounting. And lastly, operationalizing the debt retirement fund to deal with the rising public debt. Madam Speaker, government revenues are projected to increase to 15.4% of GDP in the 2022-2023 financial year from an estimated 12.4% of GDP in 2021-2022 on account of current effects of domestic resource mobilization efforts. Nonetheless, expenditure is expected to grow to 23.3% of GDP in the 2022-23 financial year, up from an estimated 19.7% of GDP in 2021-22, owing to short-term pressure on COVID-19 related expenditure. Now let me talk about progress toward job creation. Madam Speaker, COVID-19 has hit global labor markets hard, and Malawi has not been spared. In view of this, during the 2021-22 financial year, government has been developing the National Job Creation Strategy, which is our blueprint for job creation in the next 5 years. Government also started establishing job centers in all the 4 cities of Malawi. The centers will give job seekers easy access to employment opportunities and will be fitted with a job matching portal that will facilitate electronic information exchange and enable job seekers to access vacancies and secure jobs through online platforms. The portal will also help us track jobs and create and provide real-time data. The portal will be linked with the labor market information system because, as I have been saying, delivering this promise of jobs cannot be done without fixing the systems that affect the same. Additionally, during the year under review, government continued to expand access to TVET through the establishment of new community technical colleges as a means of equipping the youth with employable skills. Apart from the 16 colleges we made operational the previous year, 2 more have been completed in Salim and Katabe, while 3 others are almost done. As a supplement to these job creation efforts, last November, I launched the Presidential Initiative on Job Creation. At that time, I reported that my administration has not only been creating jobs, but also protecting jobs that would otherwise have been lost without our intervention. And because of those interventions, the World Bank now confirms that Malawi's labor market has recovered to pre-pandemic levels. Madam Speaker, although we have not reached our target of 1 million jobs in the time frame we set, due to 3 successive waves of COVID-19 that we did not foresee when we set that target, we have come impressively close. Government now estimates that in the 2021-2022 fiscal year, the number of jobs created in both private and public sectors stood at 997,423. In furtherance of our job creation agenda, we will be working closely with the private sector and the business community. Since job creation cannot be delivered by government alone, my administration considers the private sector a key ally, not an adversary. As such, we intend to remove the barriers and